maintaining your certification. Right? So yeah, that's there. Now coming to the curriculum part, friends, this is where the entire curriculum is divided into three contents or three domains. So these were the domains that I was indicated yesterday, right, in our conversation. So there is ways of working, there's power skills, and there's business acumen. So these three domains, the way they are listed are ways of working are all about processes. So as a project manager, you need to have an understanding of what kind of structure would you give to your project, right? What kind of steps will be followed in order to get the job done. So that is ways of working. Power skills are essentially people skills, right? And business acumen is the knowledge around business environment. And all three have weightage in the examination. So about 50% of your questions would be coming in from process domain, that is ways of working, right? 42% of the questions will be coming from people domain, representing power skills. And remaining 8% comes from business acumen, representing business environment, right? Now beyond that, there is because there's agile component in the PMP examination. About 50% of the questions come from predictive life cycle, right? Or traditional life cycle we commonly call as waterfall method. Yeah. And then remaining 50% is where the representation of the questions are from agile and hybrid. Right? So now if I go back to the previous slide that I skipped, all this information is available on exam content outline. Now this exam content outline is the curriculum of your examination. It's available on the PMI's official website for you to go and download. Okay? And taking you back to my browser window, this is where we were, right? So let me just see if I can log out from here. Just hang on. You can see a log out buttons. Okay, there you go. Now, if you go back to certifications, PMP, the same page, the PMP page, if you scroll a little further, you will see exam content outline right here, right? And it's available for you to download. Okay. In fact, I'll make it a little easier for you. I already have a downloaded version, which I will add to the chat box. I think I can't do that. Yeah, it's a pretty. I think it's comparatively bigger file. I think what I'll do is I will simply copy this link and send it to you, so that you can simply just click in there and you can click on this link, come to this page and download the document. So as I click again on download, it will take me to the same page, to my downloaded version of the PDF. Right? Meanwhile, I would urge everyone to please download it, keep it handy, because this could work as a checklist for you. Meaning, it will define like what is it that we are covering from the examination. Okay. So not a very big document. It's only about 20 pages that we have in there. And just clear this. Right. So here, if you take a look at this, last revision in the examination was made in January 2021. Okay. The next revision is due in July 2026. Okay. So the exam pattern will also change. Yeah. And then as you scroll down further, you would notice this table of content. Scroll a little further, introduction, and from there comes exam content outline. Yeah. So see, this is what we were looking at on the slide as well, right? So people domain 42, process domain 50%, business environment 8%, and then the bolded text over here. It says about half of the questions would be representing the predictive project management approaches, while the other half will represent agile and hybrid approaches. And then you scroll further down, it gives you a breakdown of the domains. Right? So each of the domain is broken down into topics, and those topics are listed as tasks here. So each of the tasks means a topic within the domain, right? And then of course there are sub-pointers, which are in the terms of PMI, it's called enabler. So these are tasks as enablers. And this is exactly what we are covering as part of our training. Okay. So people domain has a total of 14 tasks, 1-4. Yeah. And if you take a look at the topics, as in the name of these tasks, you will see manage conflicts, leading a team, supporting team performance, empowering the team members and stakeholders, ensuring team members, stakeholders are adequately trained, building a team, address and remove impediments, obstacles, blockers, negotiate project agreements, collaborate with stakeholders, build shared understanding, engage and support virtual teams, define team ground rules, mentor relevant stakeholders, promote team performance through application of emotional intelligence. So the theme here, again, this is not to be memorized, by the way, but the theme here is all about people engagement, right? People management. Yeah, that's what the theme is about. As you scroll further, then you will come across the process domain. This has 50% weightage, as you already know. And here you're looking at the processes of doing various things, like planning out, managing communication, risk management, right? Stakeholder management, cost management, resource management, right? Schedule management, quality management, again, scope management right here. Yeah. Integration management, integrating all the planning activities. Then change management. Yeah. Procurement management, artifact management. So all these are different tasks. So the theme here is related to processes, defining proper processes that enables the project managers to work with those individuals and get their work done, right? So there are a total of 17 tasks listed under the process domain. So, which is why I said, download this document. Yeah, we'll be covering each of the tasks with each of the enablers listed in here. Okay. And then comes business environment, which has that tiny bit, 8% of the weightage. And here, this is broken down into 4 tasks. So it talks about project compliance, it talks about benefits and value, it talks about how you would want to be vigilant about what's happening around the business environment and how that could impact your scope of your work, right? And supporting organizational change, right? So the theme again here is looking at from a business standpoint. Okay, so these are the things that we will be covering as part of our curriculum in the examination. Sounds good? I hope things are easy to follow here. So for each of the certifications, PMI publishes an exam content out. It basically brings clarity, right? It removes that ambiguity, like what is it that the exam is going to assess me upon? Like a lot of people will think about leadership skills and they'll think about like there's tons and tons of literature written on it, yeah? And so what is exactly that PMI is going to assess me upon? So this is where it brings clarity. Okay. Now finally, coming to how the course is structured, this is how it would look like, right? And this is where we have the entire training broken down into 6 lessons. We will start with the first one today, that is business environment, right? So business environment, you might think it's the tiniest one, it's the easiest one. Yes, it is. Okay. However, this is one of the most important ones because it puts a context to the project, right? So we'll cover a lot of things over here. Lesson number 2, starting the project. Now, starting means initiating a project, right? Initiation. So what is it that we typically do? What kind of processes do we follow when we're initiating a project, right? What are things that you would need to keep in mind? Then once the project is even initiated and approved, then you would start planning around it. So planning around team, planning around the work that needs to be done, planning the approach, those kind of things. Yeah. And that planning goes very detailed, like what will be the scope management plan, what will be the schedule management plan, quality management plan. All those processes that you largely saw in there will be covered partially as part of planning the project, right? And once the plan is there in place, obviously it's time for us to execute it, right? But as I mentioned yesterday, one of the roles of project managers is not to spoon feed people. That's ineffective and that's boring. So we are responsible for the people who are responsible for the job. Yeah. And that's what we focus upon next. Lesson number 4, leading the team. Right? After leading the team comes supporting the project team. Now, supporting them in terms of performance management. So this is where you measure things, you monitor things, and of course you control any variations, large variations, right? Making sure that we are able to meet the expectations, we are able to meet the benefits and value that the project is intended to bring in. So supporting the project. And last but not least, closing the project or a phase. Okay, so it's perfectly aligned with what we generally refer to as life cycle of a project. It begins with initiation, goes into planning, from there into execution. Simultaneously, you are also monitoring and controlling, and then you are closing the project or a phase after the deliverables have been delivered and accepted by the customer. Yeah. So this is our approach. Yeah. All set? Any questions I can answer for you? Okay, so we'll jump right into our first lesson, and that will be business acumen. Okay. Now, while we do that, I think what we will also do, maybe take a 10 minutes breather, if that's okay with you guys. Yeah, maybe you can just go and grab a quick cup of coffee or something in 10 minutes. Yeah. Maybe just have a breather, and once we're back, then we'll get started. Okay.
Yep.
So I'll put